Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And, it's been a strange generation for PlayStation. I know this topic can be taboo for certain people, but when you compare the PlayStation 5 to their past consoles, it almost feels like there's a missing ingredient. And it's almost hard to put your finger on what that ingredient actually is because they've released some great games for the PlayStation 5, I think especially early on in its life cycle. And the PlayStation 5 has also sold very well compared to its competition. So what exactly is the problem here, and why are some fans losing their patience with PlayStation? What's that missing ingredient? And I think the latest news kind of leans into their core issue that they've really had since Jim Ryan took the reins of PlayStation. Even though he retired earlier this year, there is still a sense that something has changed within PlayStation. And a lot of that really comes down to one simple thing: communication with their fans. These past 5 years, there's been so many times that they've gone just absolutely radio silent, and they've given their fans little reason to be excited for the future of PlayStation, to be excited about the console that they bought into. They don't bring that wow factor like they used to with their various showcases, and I think that's another reason that this month PlayStation fans are upset. They're looking at Xbox and Nintendo, both of which had these great showcases. And then here on the other side of things, you have PlayStation. They had their State of Play, and outside of Astrobot, they didn't really have much to show that was all that exciting. But that's also kind of the thing about all this, because a lot of people last month were expecting a PlayStation showcase. Not a State of Play, but a PlayStation showcase. They were expecting to see more future games from their first-party studios. But once again, Sony has gone radio silent, all while their competitors are going all out. So now here we are once again, and PlayStation fans are looking towards the next showcase in the hopes that Sony will finally give us a better glimpse into their future. And, well, we did get some news on that front today, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Now, do stay tuned for some Nintendo news as well, because I got an update for both Metroid Prime 4 and for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, so don't miss out on that. But, let's just go get right into this PlayStation story. So the next big game showcase is Gamescom, which is set for August. This is technically one of the biggest yearly showcases, and we've already heard rumors that Xbox will be there and that they will have a significant presence. I mean, Xbox just has so many studios now that they really can just show up at a lot of these events with at least something. Now, Nintendo, on the other hand, will skip Gamescom, which I think that's understandable. They just had a great showcase, and I don't really think that they have too much left to reveal before the eventual Switch successor, and I don't really foresee them revealing that within the next few months. Now, Sony, however, they're also skipping Gamescom, which honestly I don't think is all that surprising. This will make, I believe, the 5th year in a row that they will be skipping Gamescom. But despite that, I quickly noticed the fans are just absolutely chewing into them for this decision. I've seen a lot of people today say that they have nothing to show and that they're disappointed with PlayStation, and I think all of this really comes down to what I said at the beginning of the video. I think fans have become frustrated because they're just not communicating with their fans enough, and they're not giving them enough to be excited about. I mean, let me put it this way. If PlayStation had a good showcase last month, would anybody really care if they skipped Gamescom? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. But what we're seeing here instead is that fans are losing their patience. It's been a long time since they've given fans a really strong showcase. I'd say it's been at least a couple years, and their first-party output has, also been down compared to what we've seen from them in the past. That's really been Sony's strong point, but they have been slow throughout this generation. Now, I think some of this might be because of Jim Ryan's shift to live service games. They canceled a lot of live service projects these past few years, and I think that's kind of hurt their pipeline of games. But then the other problem that I think that they've run into is just long development time. A lot of their focus tends to be on these huge AAA games that takes a very long time to make. But again, I'd also say that that's the core issue here, because Sony hasn't exactly communicated or given us a glimpse to what they're working on in the future. There's no rule that they can only show games that are releasing within just the next 6 months. Their future lineup beyond Astrobot is just a complete mystery when it doesn't necessarily have to be. That there's the thing, because, even if these games aren't ready to release in 2024, they could still show games that they're working on for the future. They could tease games like Ghost of Tsushima 2, or they could tease something like the Venom game that might be ready by 2025. Look at the Xbox showcase as one such example. They showcased a lot of games that they have planned beyond 2024, maybe even possibly beyond 2025, and fans loved that event. They like that communication. So those are announcements that Sony could make, and they would bring a lot of excitement. At least we would know what their plans are going forward. But for whatever reason, they prefer this radio silence. Let me know what you all think about all this, though. Do you think Sony deserves the criticism that they're currently getting? And would you like them to be more open about their future games, even if they're a little bit further out? Let me hear it in the comments below. Now let's go talk about Nintendo, though, and their big new announcement, Metroid Prime 4. We finally got a glimpse at its gameplay, and I think it looks great. When all said and done, it potentially will be the best-looking Nintendo Switch game based on that gameplay. But that is kind of the big question following that showcase. With its 2025 release date, there is an expectation that this will be a cross-generation title, and that it'll be available on the Nintendo Switch successor. So did we just witness Nintendo Switch 2 gameplay as opposed to the original Switch? Well, Digital Foundry was asked about this, and this is what they said. It's looking great, and there are a couple of nice effects in there we took a closer look at. But ultimately, all the evidence points to this game running on the original Switch. The internal rendering resolution counts at 900p, which is the same as Metroid Prime Remastered. And as good as it is, there are some aliasing issues and even some very minor frame rate drops. Everything about the visual makeup is consistent with a really well-made Switch game where Retro has an excellent track record. I can imagine the development studio is really happy that people are making a connection with Switch 2, mind you. So there you go. More than likely, the Metroid Prime 4 footage was from the original Nintendo Switch, which, hey, I'd say that bodes very well for the Switch successor. I mean, if fans were impressed by its visuals that were running on the original Switch, I can only imagine how much better it's going to look on the Switch successor. Like Digital Foundry said, Retro Games has a great track record with visuals, and I think Metroid Prime 4 has the potential to be an immediate showcase for the Switch 2 hardware. So if this is indeed a cross-generation game, which I believe that it is, well then, I'm very excited to see what it can bring to the table. Now, there is another strange thing going on with Nintendo, though, and some different retailers. Here recently, certain Nintendo pre-orders haven't been showing up on Amazon, and they've also been canceling pre-orders for Walmart. We saw this happen last month with Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and now, once again, we're seeing the same thing for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Walmart is suddenly canceling pre-orders. Now, last month, apparently, they still fulfilled a lot of those pre-orders for Paper Mario despite the cancellations, so I'm not really sure exactly what's going on with all that, but Nintendo does seem to have an issue with both Amazon and Walmart. I mean, you were still able to pre-order both of these games at places like Best Buy and GameStop with no problem, but I do kind of wonder why all of this is suddenly happening with Amazon and Walmart. My only guess is that Nintendo believes that they're a part of the problem that they faced with their games leaking early throughout this generation. So maybe Nintendo is trying to prevent those leaks from happening by not shipping them out to Amazon and Walmart. But either way, I do think this information is important for fans who likes to pre-order games. In the future, if you want to secure a copy of a Nintendo game, especially if it's a collector's edition, which, at times can be hard to find, it might be best to avoid places like Amazon and Walmart for the time being, at least until all of this kind of gets cleared up and that fans can be confident in those places once again. I mean, Walmart did give fans, I believe it was like a $25 credit or something like that for canceling Paper Mario last minute, but there's no guarantee that they'll always do that in the future. I mean, you can always pre-order from multiple websites if you want and just kind of cancel the one that you don't want before it ships. But again, I do think especially for collector's editions, which Nintendo likes to do, this is something to at least be aware of. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this video. Again, do let me hear your thoughts about PlayStation's communication with fans. But until next time, peace out.